The Joe Rogan Experience.
It's just a random Tuesday, and there's some kid in Minnesota that's like, yo, I fucking love you, dude. Keep going. We're listening. And I might have needed to hear that day. You know, so like those kids don't know that means that much to me, and it does. So like I wasn't really that big with talking, you know, and having such a presence online because I was weird about it. But now that I got a grip over it, it's no problem for me. I love that I can, you know, just hit up a kid randomly and just make their whole year, you know, and just give them some confidence or something. That's using it for good, you know, rather than me posting a picture of some jewelry or some new $1,000 sneakers I bought that doesn't do anybody any good other than being like, damn, I ain't got shit. You know, that's the reality that people realize. And then it's like, well, I need to do what I got to do so I can have what he have. And I don't want people to think like that, you know? Like, when I post, I like to post, like, you know, maybe my lactate milk or, you know, it's like, like something like.
So does this come from, like, lessons that you've learned watching other people, but, like, their behavior? You felt like the shortcomings of their behavior once they became famous?
Oh, yeah, man. I watched everybody around me, you know, and I think, and I kind of use... I want kids to look at me and understand what not to do. You know, when I was dealing with my drug issues back in 2010, 2009, you know, I was just heavy into cocaine. And it was like a big thing for me. Cocaine. And it was like a really big thing for me. And it was something that, you know, kept me level. It was something that I felt like I needed, self-medicating. And, you know.
So you felt like cocaine kept you level?
Yeah, man, because I had this whole technique where... I don't know if I even should get into this. I don't even want to talk about this. These
you don't
kids
have to.
Fucking run around and talk and do it, you know. But let's just say I got into, like, you know, what I would call, like, you know, a trifecta, which was, you know, I would wake up in the morning, I would, you know, do coke immediately, even before I had cereal, breakfast.
Whoa.
And then I would have a beer, and then I would smoke weed. So, like, I never wanted people to know I was doing cocaine, so the beer and the marijuana leveled me out in a way where I was able to walk in the streets and talk and seem as though I wasn't on anything. But deep inside, I'm just like, zing, you know, with my face and just like, yeah, that's right. You know, but what it did for me, it completely numbed me. I didn't care about anything, and I was a robot. But also, with being so numb, it allowed me to go out and meet my fans and be out in the street. So in a twisted way, it did a positive thing for me, and that's why I didn't see it as an issue. It was like, damn, today I went walking in Soho with no place to go, and I was just high-fiving fans and shit. Like, it was just the most, you know, amazing experience, something that I never get a chance to feel because I'm just like such a recluse, and I'm just, at that time, was just weirded out when people recognized me and just didn't want to go anywhere. You know?
Yeah, that's an issue with substances that can help you in some ways, but they're ultimately detrimental to your health or your well-being or your ability to keep it together.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. I mean, I abused it. You know, it's not like the guy who like goes out with his buddies in spring break and it's like, hey, let's do a bump, and it's like, hey, cool. You know,
those guys aren't real.
Yeah.
Those guys are only people in movies, man. Everybody else is just too broke to keep going. They just don't have the amount of money that it requires to be a fucking full-time cokehead.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely expensive, man. It was definitely expensive. But, you know, I
Did you find, like, while you were doing it every day, like, was there a thing that made you stop? Because that's usually, there's like a moment. You got caught.
And then people started to know I did it. And
did you get arrested?
Yeah, and it was like, damn, now everybody knows I do it. This is not cool anymore. Like, it's only cool when no one knows.
Coke is a weird one, right?
Yeah, it's like, I didn't let the public make me feel bad about it, though. It was just kind of like, fuck, I guess I can't do that no more. And then also my daughter was born. So it was like, you know, it was like two kind of life lessons back to back that I experienced in 2010. And, you know, my daughter's birth and being arrested were those two things, because I think I had already started toning down my cocaine use at the beginning of that year. But then I was the king of like something tragic happening or something I felt was tragic or stressful, and then spiraling back into it, just needing any excuse to be like, all right, I'm going to go do cocaine now because I'm upset and I'm dealing with something I don't know how to deal. It's just like my way of copping out and avoiding my issues.
Wow.
You know, so it was like a block. It was like maybe a couple months would go by. I'd be in Hawaii, you know, working on some stuff with Kanye, and I never did cocaine or anything around those guys. That was like my time to detox when I would be away. Because, you know, if you do coke, you're either doing coke with other people, you know, or alone. And I felt weird about traveling the world and every place I was at, asking people where the drugs was at. So like it was something that I did, you know, at home at a certain time, you know, and which was, you know, I was able to like kind of keep it together and go out and work on my music and be into it. I had a system. It was a weird, sick system I developed, you know, for myself, you know, where, you know, I was able to be cool if I wasn't in New York, but then when I was back in New York, it was on. You know, because it was just like being at home in the apartment alone for hours on end just really just got me, you know?
Right.
And doing it just kind of like, oh, man, I could just put on Leaky Lee and just chill out for hours by myself and it's all good.
It's interesting that like the arrest made you want to stop because was it because like the feeling like, oh, shit, an event has taken place? Like this is obviously a big sign that I'm going down the wrong direction. I'm dealing with the legal system now. I'm getting arrested.
Nah, it was just more like, this is not Scott Mescudi. How in the hell did I let this become Scott Mescudi? How in the fuck do I got people looking at me like I'm not Scott Mescudi? And I know what it was, and I know how to fix that. And I went and made. I didn't like how people were looking at me at that moment in time.
So they were looking at you like you're a coke fiend.
Yeah, crazy, cracked out dude. Like everywhere I would go, it was just these looks, and I was just like, man, I just did a little blow. What the fuck, you know? Get off my back, you know what I mean? Like y'all motherfuckers acting like y'all ain't never did a bump. Get out of here, man. Like it was so. I was just like, are you kidding me?
People love to be sanctimonious.
Yeah, but that's the thing. When it happened, I wasn't like, you know, on, you know, the next Complex interview I did, like, I have a statement that I issue here. This camera, okay.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry to all my fans for you guys knowing that I do cocaine now, or I used to. I don't do it anymore. I'm sorry if I let anyone down. Fuck that. You know, fuck that. It was really just like, I'm dealing with some shit. If you don't understand it, I don't give a fuck. This is how I was surviving. If I didn't do it, I would have blew my brains out.
Well, I like how you describe it, too, because you're very honest about the positive aspects of the effects, and I think that's super important.
And this was my contract, by the way.
The release?
Yeah.
Don't worry about it, man.
Sorry.
Don't worry about it.
I'm an actor. Everything's a prop.
Your method. You're very method. You're very honest about the positive benefits of it. Like, people have this idea, like, you shouldn't talk about positive benefits of any drugs, whether it's harmless drugs like marijuana or dangerous drugs like cocaine, maybe even especially dangerous drugs like cocaine, because the reality of what you're saying, your experience and the positive aspects of your experience, it's like, he's promoting drugs, when clearly you're doing just the opposite.
Yeah.
You're talking about how you needed them and used them and they helped you, but the reality is, it was because you were dealing with an issue.
Right.
And it just helped mask the issue. But
Right.
it did help.
Yeah.
And to lie and deny that, it clouds the issue. For people dealing with their own drug issues, dealing with their current drug issues or their past drug issues, if people aren't honest about it, man, it puts people in this weird place where, like, you know what? If I wasn't for fucking meth, I would have never started this business. You know, look, the reason why I'm doing so well is because I got on meth. Like,
yeah, I mean,
there's
I
some
think
people that can say that probably.
Well, the only reason why I could sit here and say that is because, like, I've been 4 years clean, man. I'm not like.
Right, you're not dipping back in.
Yeah, and I can speak about it candidly, and it's not something I'm weird about, and I've just grown so much since then. And I also know that the more I talk about it, you know, the more it'll help somebody else who might be dealing with it. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
You know, when you're in that, it's probably just, it seems like you can't get out of it because it is like a thing. You know what I mean?
A cycle.
And you get caught up in it, and you know, I just know with kids listening to me talk now, it could be helping a lot of people. I'm not like one of those people now that used to do cocaine, and I'm like, oh, you're bad if you do cocaine, or cocaine's bad and you shouldn't do cocaine. Man, I don't promote any drug, but I'm not judging anybody if they do it.
Right.
You know, it's not like a big deal. Like I did it, and I just abused it in a way, and it didn't benefit me. It didn't benefit Scott. I didn't like the person I was becoming. There's some people that could do this shit and they could live and do it in moderation, and it doesn't affect their lives like how it affected mine. More power to them. They got superpowers, if you ask me. But I just have that, you know, it's a history of drugs in my family. It was like my blood was waiting. It was like, yeah, like, let's go. And I know that about myself. And I just had to make that choice. I had to make a choice, and I think that's with anything. Cigarettes, and which I'm 5 months done with now. You just have to make a choice, and I made that choice. For myself, for my own health, for my daughter, for her future, for my fans.
Yeah, a bunch of people quit cigarettes because of the Anthony Bourdain quit cigarettes because of his daughter too. I just realized, like, what am I doing?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like my father passed away from cancer. All my uncles passed away from cancer, and my father died when I was 11. So that was an experience, for me, that kind of like traumatized me in such a way. But I can't, when I got older, I started to, do everything that my father was into. Like, my dad smoked Newports. I started smoking Newports at 17. My dad's, he loved MGD, Miller Genuine Draft. I fucking drank MGD, Miller Genuine Draft. It was like
tribute to him.
I just kind of was becoming my dad in a weird way, and it wasn't, it was like one of those things. There's, I don't know. I just kind of, I never really had a relationship with him. So the only memories I had was just this guy, like, this guy was just so cool. He had his cigarette and he had his beer, and he was always awesome, and he was there for me as a man, and up until he left, and I think I kind of got caught up in that. And that's something that, like, I can't say the image of my father drinking and smoking is what made me drink and smoke, but I can't say it didn't.
Right. Do you think you took, like, comfort in it, maybe? Like,
I think maybe, yeah, for sure. I think everybody takes comfort in smoking cigarettes. It's like, one of those things.
Yeah, that's the grand trick that cigarettes pull on you. They give you comfort in that need to replenish. Like, you give you a little stimulant from the nicotine and all the chemicals that are in the cigarette, and then you're so addicted to it that you have this weird stress when you don't have it. And then when you smoke it, it relieves that stress. And you think that it's actually calming you down, but all it's doing is feeding the dragon.
It's like a drug. It's anything.
It's a drug.
Yeah.